Hello grapplers and welcome to a new video. Today we're gonna talk about a move that is certainly making the rounds. People are talking about this move. They have been talking about this one. And it is knee. How strong, weak, what can you do with knee? I'm gonna try to be as neutral, unbiased as possible, but if you've watched my streams, you know what I feel about knee. Short story short, I think it's very inconsistent. And that makes it a move that you might not want to go for if the situation arises. But anyways, that's not the point today. Today we're gonna see what knee is all about. First of all, it has low crush from frame 7 to 23. Low crush doesn't mean airborne, it just means you go over certain lows. You are not necessarily gonna be 0 all the time. Sorry, -3 all the time. Sometimes you can be plus depending on the distance of the knee. And this is one of the issues. It is hard to gauge how plus you are. I have to thank Plasma 3D. He mentioned how good the proximity box of knee is. And after testing, he's right. The move has a lot of proximity where they don't allow to back walk. That doesn't mean they can't backdash. For example, I'm gonna test this. You'll see if I do something like this, he walks back. But if I do knee, he has to stay in place. The thing I just did, that it is the best way to do the +3 knee easily. The opponent is not blocking. 1, 2, 3, 4, boom. So that's the +3 knee and the most common one. Otherwise, it's kind of difficult. If you hit someone with the tip of the crouching light punch, you will not reach with knee. Hit with 2 crouching light punches. Sometimes you can go into a +3 knee. On block, without using drive rush, knee is somewhere between -3 and +3. Let's say you're +3. What is your best option? Crouching light punch as a frame trap. Now this is not necessarily the best thing, or you can use crouching light kick. You can use SPD, but not regular grabs, because you don't have the momentum to grab them. If you do a couple, and then the knee, you can be into grab range. This is one of the things I mentioned before. This is why knee is so inconsistent. It is difficult to do this. Because sure, if you're +2, +3, you can go into a regular grab or SPD. If you're +1, that is not the case. If you're +1, your best option is to just poke with crouching light kick. That's why so many Sange players go for this, even though they could be better in terms of frames, because they don't know. Technically, if you are +2, let's say you're over here and you go for 2. Sometimes you can be in throw range, sometimes you're not. Extremely inconsistent. Then I'm +3 and I can grab them. Should you hit with knee, let's say the knee +1 or +2 and they press buttons, you can use crouching light kick, standing light punch into lariat or OD lariat. Most of the time OD lariat. Now if you use drive rush and you don't space your knee properly, you're always gonna be +1. With a +1, again, that's your frame trap. In some scenarios, you can threaten with a regular grab even though you don't have enough frames, just to let them know. You can mix this, sometimes with this. That's my monster. But you're +1. If you do the need to close the gap and they're not pressing buttons, let me remind you, this is very, very slow. You're using a 14 frame move after a drive rush, so you're around 27 frames. But if you use this without any Oki, sometimes you can be +5. I think you can get a +6. But usually you're between +1 to +5. You're always gonna be plus. And since here you do have the momentum of the drive rush, you should be able to go into a throw. And since you're always gonna be plus, you can certainly try to grab them. However, as you can see here, in some scenarios, you can mistime your knee and you won't be able to grab them. But that is the knee on block. The knee on hit changes a little bit when you drive rush. Depending on how you hit, you can be up until +8, I believe. Usually if you meaty with your drive rush knee, you should be able to go into the hell stab. Hell stab is the best thing you're gonna get from me. If you get the counter hit, remember this is +1. You add 4 frames to do the drive rush and 2 frames to the counter hit. That means if you get this counter hit, you always go into hell stab. You have to be looking out for the label, the counter hit label, because this is a guaranteed hell stab. And as you can imagine, the punish counter, same thing. It's just +9, and this is just the close knee, a close knee +9. Now the issue with knee in a lot of scenarios is getting enough frames. You probably already know that. Getting enough frames. Because sometimes you get the punish counter, but that's the punish counter from a regular knee. That means you're only gonna be +5. Like, this is a pretty common situation. Boom. That is a plus knee. But +5. So the same thing applies. This is your combo. Which is not the best. You do damage, but it is not the best. Considering in some scenarios you can just do this. And this also applies if they're pressing like a crouching medium kick. Sure, that's a +5. What do you do with a +5? This into OD lariat, or you delay any grab by 1 frame. It seems at first that knee is fantastic due to how safe it is compared to other buttons. If you really think about it, you're using a 14 frame move for this damage. But again, the consistency is difficult to achieve. They have to imagine a crouching medium kick after your lights. And why would they? They can use better buttons. In this case, Bison has a crouching medium punch. And that's when things are starting to look a little bit sour for knee. Burnout. And this is where people most of the time try to sell you the concept of knee. You're using a 14 frame move to be +1. If the opponent is in Burnout and you need frames and you want to use a 14 frame move, that is +8. Same thing works. They can be mashing a crouching medium kick, but you're gonna be +5. That doesn't change. That's a knee punish counter. Compared to the amount of pressure you can get from this, it is very difficult to justify. So that's the thing with knee. It's not necessarily a bad move. It's just a very risky, low reward move. And use it in Oki situations. That's probably the best use of knee. Super level 1 or SPD, light SPD. You can drive rush from the other side of the screen and use knee. You might be saying at this point, but Kevlan, I've seen a lot of Sangi players use knee and they totally nail it. Nail the use of knee. Well, let me show you a replay. Just to prove a point. This point is just to show you how difficult it is to use knee. Here we have Kobayan, probably the best Zangief at the moment in the world. Look at this knee. This is one of the many knees he uses in this match. And spoiler alert, like 90% of them are stuffed. This is a knee that is very common. That is a -3 knee. Thus, the opponent can mash. And here I think Kobayan thought he was plus enough, because he went for grab. And this is another knee. He tried to use drive rush knee to be +1. There you go, sweep. And then right here, trade, drive rush, and that knee got stuffed. We don't have a really good visual confirmation of how plus we are. Or in other situations, you try to use the knee to close the gap, and you never know if the knee is actually gonna connect. That's why so many Zangief players use knee, close the gap, and someone just presses crouching medium punch, and they basically die. That is the issue with knee. It is not a move that is consistent, and it works. It's not the best. You're gonna be +5. Between +1, +5, so you have to poke with lights. And if you are in a position where you can go for a regular grab, maybe you can go into that, or SPD. Should you use it? I don't know. If you want to use it, go ahead. I'm just telling you to be careful with knee. If you want to do damage, just use headbutt or SPD or spine buster into a reset, etc. If you really liked this video or the rest of the content, please subscribe. We have a lot of Zangief videos over here, and we're gonna do more things in the future. Take care as always, keep playing grapplers, and I'll see you in the next one.